Just running the floor. Shot blocked by Antetokounmpo. One-hander. Shot is good. Does it again.
If there was an NBA player who defined what it means to be a beast, that would be Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's called the Greek Freak for a good reason, and that's because he's one of the most physically unstoppable players in the league. He has also been one of the top 5 players in the NBA since 2019, but that run he had during the 2020-21 season was simply special. Now, let's look at what made 2021 Giannis such a beast. You don't get a lot of NBA players who have Giannis Antetokounmpo's physical attributes. The guy came into the league as a 6'9" forward who barely played the game when he was in Greece. He was a raw, long, yet driven prospect who had what it took to be good, especially because of his youth and desire to be great. But no one expected him to be such a beast. Not too long after his rookie season, Giannis grew to 6'11" and started harnessing his God-given talents. More than that, he built his body in the weight room. So, from a 6'9" twig that was barely 200 pounds, he gained a ton of muscle mass and turned into the personification of a Greek god statue. Giannis is listed at 242 pounds, but it looks like he's at least 260 pounds of pure and lean muscle mass. On top of that, he has incredibly long legs and arms that make him look like a true freak, giving justice to his nickname, the Greek Freak. But his physical talent is not the only reason he's special. Despite having physical gifts that rival some of the best centers the league has ever seen, Giannis moves like a guard. He can handle the ball incredibly well, run the floor like a gazelle, and makes passes like a bigger version of Magic Johnson. Once he has the ball on the perimeter, everyone needs to move out of the way because he's going to attack the basket like a wrecking ball. That's why defenses have to build a wall in the paint to make life harder for this freak of nature. As soon as he learned how to properly use his height, length, strength, and athleticism while playing under the spread-out system of Mike Budenholzer, he turned into an unstoppable force. During the 2018-19 season, he was undoubtedly the most dominant player in the league because of his incredible scoring, rebounding, and passing. No one could stay with him because he could drive past other centers and power forwards. When matched up with players who could keep up with his speed and athleticism, he could simply overpower them. So, in 2019, he won the MVP while leading a Milwaukee Bucks team that had a good chance of competing for the championship, all while averaging 27.7 points, 12.5 rebounds, and 5.9 assists. Despite losing in the Eastern Conference Finals that season, Giannis was still undoubtedly one of the best players in the league. He made sure of that during the 2019-20 season when he not only repeated as the MVP, but also won the Defensive Player of the Year, averaging 29.5 points, 13.6 rebounds, and 5.6 assists while becoming only the 3rd player to win both awards in the same season. The other 2 are Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon. That's a great company to be with for any player in league history.
From distance, he makes the play on penalty.
But somehow, the Bucks couldn't do anything in the playoffs, even with Giannis playing like a beast. Teams simply built walls in front of him, and his teammates couldn't even hit shots whenever they were open. That was when people started wondering if Giannis was truly an MVP in the strict sense of the word because he couldn't lead his team to a championship or even fight for a chance to get to the finals. Everything changed during the 2020-21 season when the Bucks acquired Drew Holiday. Of course, Giannis also changed a few things in his game. He was still a beast on both ends of the floor, dominating as a scorer and rebounder. But he also enhanced a few parts of his game, learning how to better handle the Giannis wall and understanding when it was best to make a good pass to an open teammate. Holiday's defense and Chris Middleton's timely shot-making also contributed to his greatness that season. So, at the end of the 2020-21 regular season, the Freak averaged 28.1 points, 11 rebounds, and 5.9 assists. He did not win the MVP, however, because Nikola Jokic had risen to the top of the league as quite possibly the best player from an offensive standpoint. Despite that, Giannis was driven not by his desire to win an MVP once more, but by his hunger for a championship, the only award that undoubtedly solidifies a player's status as an all-time great. Making the playoffs once more, the Bucks destroyed the Miami Heat in the first round after losing to them the previous season. While the Heat still used the Giannis wall effectively, Antetokounmpo learned how to impact the game without having to rush through the Heat's defense.
Middleton finds Giannis. Look out. Giannis with a layup.
He made great passes, averaging 7.8 assists on top of 23.5 points and 15 rebounds in that series. The Bucks beat the Heat in 4 games, opening up a second-round meeting with the Brooklyn Nets in what was the toughest series for Milwaukee that season. Despite playing against a team that had Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, the Freak was up for the challenge. Milwaukee may have lost the first 2 games of the series, but the one thing that was clear was that no one on the Nets roster could defend him. He scored at least 30 points in the next 4 games, opening up a 3-3 series tie heading into Game 7. The Bucks were lucky in that game. Kevin Durant was about to win it with a game-winning 3-pointer, but it wasn't a 3-pointer because his toe was on the line. So, in overtime, the Bucks took over, with Giannis finishing with 40 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists. He averaged 31.9 points, 12.9 rebounds, and 3.6 assists in that series, proving he could dominate as a scorer and rebounder whenever he needed to. Meanwhile, in the Eastern Conference Finals, Giannis was supposed to go off for another great series because the Atlanta Hawks didn't have anyone who could stop him. Unfortunately, he hyperextended his knee in Game 4, forcing him to miss the rest of the series. It didn't matter though, because Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez stepped up to beat the Hawks in 6 games.
Herter gets it out to Portis. Middleton for 3 from straight away.
Milwaukee was on its way to the 2021 NBA Finals to go up against an inspired Phoenix Suns team. But while the team was on its way to the championship round, there were questions surrounding Giannis's health. After all, a player like him relies a lot on his knees for explosiveness. So, even if he were to return in time for the finals, there were people wondering whether or not he was going to be 100%. But what transpired in the championship round proved that Giannis Antetokounmpo was undoubtedly a true beast. Milwaukee lost the first 2 games of that series, but Giannis went for 42 points in Game 2 to set the tone for the rest of the series.
That's a non-shooting foul.
Holiday inside. Antetokounmpo gets to the rim on a pretty...
He went for 41 points and 13 rebounds in Game 3 to allow the Bucks to inch closer to the Suns. Then, in Game 4, he had one of the greatest defensive plays in finals history. With Milwaukee up by 2 points with just over a minute left in the game, the Suns went to their bread-and-butter play with Devin Booker playing the pick-and-roll with DeAndre Ayton. Giannis showed up on Booker after the pick, leaving Ayton open inside the paint. But as soon as Booker lobbed the ball to where Ayton could easily jam it through the hoop, Antetokounmpo proved why he was the Greek Freak. In a split second, he recovered to the paint and launched himself from the floor to block that alley-oop attempt. Dunks are already hard enough as they are to block, but Giannis did it in a lob play that was nearly impossible to block, especially for such a great finisher like Ayton.
Now Booker with Tucker on him. Throws it up for Ayton. Shot blocked by Antetokounmpo. What a block from Giannis.
That defensive play set the tone for the Bucks the entire series as they tied the series 2-2. And they grabbed the series lead with a win in Game 5, opening up a classic performance from the Greek Freak. He was unstoppable in Game 6, not wanting the series to head down to a 7th and decisive game. Giannis simply overpowered every defender he had in front of him. More impressive, however, was his free throw shooting. People doubted his free throw shooting the entire playoff run because he took too long on the line and often missed his shots. But in that game, he was forcing the Suns to foul him. Still, he made his shots and was simply outclassing the Suns with his freakish efforts. At the end of the game, he finished with 50 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 blocks to win the finals for the Bucks. And after averaging 35.2 points, 13.2 rebounds, 5 assists, and 1.8 blocks in that series, he was undoubtedly the finals MVP in what was one of the greatest performances in finals history. Undoubtedly, Giannis Antetokounmpo was a beast in that finals, and even the entire playoff run as a whole. People doubted him the previous 2 years because of his inability to deliver a championship despite winning the MVP. But that 2021 run was simply proof that he was a beast in every sense of the word.